McGrath comes in, it's on its way, it's there! The miracle on grass!
Going with a kick to full forward, Cloak, not quite, Blair, Collingwood back in front.
The seed, he delays the give, Franklin, this is Buddy Franklin! This is the greatest showman! Poor fans can't bear to watch. They led by 28 points at one stage, but the perfect storm is erupted. Oh, who else? McDonald!
Is it ever really a round of footy if there's not an obscene amount of controversy, whether it be due to suspensions, due to rulings, or due to umpiring? Because sweet damn, round 5 is the same as everything else. I think we're riding hell of a streak so far this season. Between people thinking that there's only one flag contender at the moment, and the return of the hero of the AFL, the man that everyone needs to see. He's coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Toby Green returns round 6. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to probably have to mention the abysmal season that the Gws Giants have had, especially in the second half. And oh man, they only kind of make me want to blow my brains out every once in a while. By every once in a while, I mean every other possession. But that's besides the point, because we got a lot more to talk about besides just my depression when it comes to being a Giants supporter, because we got a lot of stuff to go over from round 5 of the AFL season. Of course, I'm your host, Ross Allen, joined alongside by the best in the business, Coach Donnie. And Coach, how are we feeling after another spectacular round of footy and a really solid performance for the Swans? They kind of kicked the shit out of West Coast.
Oh, this was a very interesting round, because not only did it give us entertainment value with several really good games. The Easter Monday game between Geelong and Hawthorne was absolutely fantastic, scintillating football, but it kind of put the proverbial pen into the map that is the controversy of controversies that every single podcast that I have listened to over the last 3 days has had to discuss, and has long standing discussions. And before we even hopped on mic, I kind of had my little discussion with Ross over this, so I'm going to save that.
I think we got another rant
for
coming,
later,
ladies and gentlemen. Surprise, surprise.
Oh boy, so we'll batten down the hatches for that one, because this one's good. This one's going to be fun. As per usual, I am unlike I'm not a tipper, ruffle the feathers. I'm one of those. I have an opinion when it comes to certain things, then I will ruffle some feathers. I cannot wait for the comment section in this video, because it's going to be fun.
Woo! Well, nothing like a fire comment section that is just on fire. But before we get into talking about who the real flag contender is so far this year, you gotta listen to an ad, please. I need money.
Hey, it's the publisher here, Mr. Kelly Cole. Listen, if you are a former professional athlete, if you are a former college athlete or sports coach, and you're looking to launch your speaking career, let me tell you, you need a book. If you're already out there speaking and you want to track more high-paid speaking engagements, you need a book. It's not about creating more content to post on social media. It's not about recording a bunch of videos. It's not about doing more podcasts. The number one secret to attracting more high-paid speaking engagements or even launching your speaking career is a book. Hey, I'm the publisher, Mr. Kelly Cole, and I help former athletes and sports coaches create best-selling books in 30 days to launch their speaking career, even if they hate writing and don't know where to start. So for the first time ever, I've created a free case study video that will not only show you how to write a book from scratch in as little as 30 days and become a best-selling author, it will also show you how to attract more high-paid speaking engagements. Now, to check out this free case study video, click the link that says learn more or go to booksforathletes.com. Real quick before you go, do not go if you're not a former athlete or sports coach. because you won't find any value in what I'm about to share. And don't go if your book is already out and already on Amazon. You won't find any value in what I share over there. But if you are a former athlete or sports coach, know that you need a book, or already out there speaking and you want to launch your speaking career, go check out that link now. Writing a book is not as hard as you think. It doesn't even matter if you don't know where to start. My case study video will show you how to start and get it done and onto the bestsellers list. So go now.
Thank you, guys. Please help me make more money by checking them out on Instagram or also hitting them up at their website. That's booksforathletes.com. I'm poor, and I would love for you to just keep paying me to do this. So, I don't know. You do you, man. But it's time. It's time to get into some of the best parts about the week, and it's because it's time to make obscene statements with almost no backing, but there's still a chance that there's a little bit of truth to them. And the man that's going to determine that is our judge, jury, and executioner, Coach Donnie, when it comes to our overreaction statements. Of course, if you guys don't know how this works, I got 3 statements for you guys, and it's up to Coach Donnie to let us know if it's an overreaction or if there's actually some truth to it. And starting us off, we're going with the Demons. And statement number 1, Melbourne is the only true flag contender right now. And especially if you are some of the pundits, the more popular ones than us, at least in Australia, they think this is true. So, Donnie, go ahead. What do you think here?
This is one of those that the more each and every round, if the dominance continues and the way that they wholeheartedly beat up your beloved Giants, and again, but then
that
again, though,
looked like
it's
a
not
VFL
something to
team playing. Actually, no, I think the Giants VFL team is actually doing good this year. I should just watch them instead.
Oh man, but it is. I don't think this is as huge an overreaction as some people would think. 5 rounds in, but then again, though, I'm always one of those. There's so much footy. You don't know what injuries are going to do. You don't know how things are going to kind of handle out. You don't know if somebody's going to get hot at the right time and find that perfect little. So right now, this is not an overreaction just from what we've seen originally, but we've still got 17 rounds. We've still got 17 rounds of footy still left to play. And if Petrarca and Oliver both go down with ACLs in round 7 or 8, again, I don't wish that upon anybody.
Don't want that to happen.
If that happens, that changes a lot. So it's an overarching statement that as of right now, yes. Overall in the season, I'm not going to jump onto this conclusion because I still say there's still a ton of time. Now, if we get to round 15, 16, 17, and the D's are still undefeated, yes, that it really does become the topic of can anybody actually beat the D's?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hate basing my any sort of like predictions and assessments off of what if situations when it comes to injuries. But also, you do make a good point there. I guess when it comes to this, I have to say hold the phone on this one just because when you still have teams like the Swans, when you have maybe the Cats, if this round was a bit of a, nothing more than a little bit of road bump they're hitting, or the Brisbane Lions when their offense is performing the way it should be, that is a dangerous team. Now, I'm not completely sold on Brisbane. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're flag contenders at the moment. But that's an offense that can contend with the Ds. The Sydney is a really solid all-around team that could contend with the Ds. So they're certainly not sitting, on top of the mountain pretty right now,
Yeah, definitely. And I would almost go like this, is that honestly, I don't want to be playing world beater footy right now. I don't. It's round 5. You want to be playing world beater footy at the end of the season going into the finals because
you just have to win games right now.
It's easy to be a great team early in the season because everything is still kind of going on, but it's can you survive the toils and troubles of an entire home and away season? It's like there was one year, I remember it, that the North Melbourne Roos went 10-0 to start the season. They finished 7th on the ladder and got knocked out in the preliminary final. They didn't even make the grand final. So yes, the D's have had an incredible record last year. They won the entire thing. They're pretty much healthy. But I always want to leave a little bit of room because you just don't know what could happen. And I understand it. It's ifs and buts and all that stuff. And we won't go into the old quote that I've heard many times before. I look at it like this, is that right now, from what I see, yes, that is a very true statement. But there's a lot of things that could change. Brisbane could find its rhythm. Sydney could find its rhythm. I'm even at the point Freo could find its rhythm, because I think Freo is a team that a lot of people look down on. They are finding ways to win. Yes, they haven't played the creme de la creme of the league either, but they're winning games of footy. And the one game that they lost is a team that's playing very well as well. So there's still a lot of footy left to be played, but it's hard not to argue that the D's are very much the class right now.
No, they're definitely the favorite. Don't get me wrong. They're freaking incredible and could definitely be the next Richmond, so to say. But speaking in the same conversation about contenders, let's flip the switch and go to the Sydney Swans with this next statement, and that being Isaac Heeney is the AFL's next superstar.
Well, if you're a Swans fan, you're hoping that this is true. You hoping this is not an overreaction, because this young man
be the one to take over Buddy,
incredibly
right?
Talented. That's Buddy's spot for the most part. Many people would say is Logan Mcdonald's, because Logan Mcdonald is the same type of player, full forward, center half forward, super athletic, great engine, an incredible talented player. Where Isaac Heeney is kind of his own, he's his own little thing. Like he's a lot like Jake Stringer. He's a lot like Dusty Martin. He's a lot like Marcus Bontampelli. He's a guy that can go in the midfield. He can win the footy if he needs to, but he can also go up forward and kick goals. And he's kind of been relegated, some would say, to the forward line because of guys like Josh Kennedy, because of guys like Luke Parker, because of George Hewitt there for the longest time, who's now with the Carlton Blues. But now that Joey Kennedy's getting up there a little bit, Luke Parker, they're trying to kind of save his legs for a little bit. Heeney's getting himself some midfield time. Now, the thing is, he's been playing more forward due to the fact that Tommy Papley's been out with a hamstring injury. So can he explode and be that next great superstar? I think it's definitely possible. The kid has got incredible talent, can leap out of the building, is incredibly strong, great tackler. Yes, I don't think this is an overreaction. I think we are looking at a kid that, if he gets the right season at the right time and can put some consistency together, can be one of those next Jake Stringer, Dusty Martin, Patrick Dangerfield, Marcus Bontampelli, one of those type of guys, spoken in that top 10 Brownlow medal type of contender-ish type of players.
Now, I think, correct me, the comments could correct me wrong, so can you. I don't think I've necessarily made one of my patented bold statements yet this year. So I think, if anything, this is going to be one of my first ones, and it's definitely going to be my best one, because, Donnie, I could tell you right now that two things will happen in the next 5 years, including this one. All right? One, Isaac Heeney will be a Brownlow medalist, and two, the Sydney Swans will win a flag. Both those are going to happen within the next 5 years.
If they can keep the talent together on this list, it is definitely a possibility. Again, the league's a crapshoot, so you never know. Absolutely. But I would definitely, as a Sydney Swan supporter, I would definitely take that. A flag in the next 5 years would be quite nice.
I guess if one Sydney team can't win it, then the lesser Eastern Sydney team can win it. Whatever, I don't know. Are they the less East? Maybe. I don't know. They're not great.
We got to work on your Australian. You got to work on your Sydney and Australian geography.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. All I know is that it's definitely not the great Western Sydney right now. But let us know your thoughts on the Swannies. Also, feel free to jump on the Swans bandwagon with me. I beat the Rush last year. I'm just going to keep riding it, baby. It's like playing a little bit of it's like playing Rush roulette, or not Rush roulette, normal roulette. All right, normal roulette. I don't know why I threw the Rush in there. Sweet damn. What am I on tonight? But just let it ride, Donnie. That's what I'm doing with my takes with the Swans. Let it ride until I might go broke. But we'll see. But also, speaking about Sydney, how about that for a transition? Let's get into the last statement of the overreactions, and that is, praise him. Oh, I can't wait. Because statement number 3, GWS is now finals contenders with the return of Toby Green. Please say yes.
Oh man, as much as I respect Toby Green's ability on the field, even if he does have a few brain fades in him, I am worried that some of the issues that GWS has, Toby Green's not going to be able to fix. Now, GWS was hurt a little bit. Isaac Cummings didn't play in that game, and he's an incredible defender. Has been playing really well this year, and I think that didn't help. But GWS, unfortunately, they got ran out of the park, out of the MCG.
It wasn't close.
But Melbourne does that to a lot of teams. Oh, well, but Melbourne does that to a lot of teams. They literally just outwork you, and they run you to exhaustion, and that's really what they did. Mm-hmm. Will Toby Green be that talisman that drags GWS into the finals? I think it's a possibility because the guy is that talented. But the issue is there are still many, many issues that he's not going to be able to fix. He can't fix the issues in the mid. He can't fix all of the issues in the midfield. He can't fix the fact that Braden Pruce needs to stay healthy to keep their ruck stocks okay. And Matt Flynn did an okay job against Matt Gawn, but Max Gawn's one of the best in the league. So it's hard when you don't have that stable backup with Pruce being out last game. So I'm going to say overreaction right now because we don't know. I mean, unfortunately, this is a make or break it game this weekend against St. Kilda, because if you lose this, you're in a hole, and a big hole to try to make it to finals. So you hope Toby Green does that and brings and drags them back from obscurity. But you're not playing an easy opponent in St. Kilda this weekend. So this is going to test Toby Green's powers. Can he drag GWS over the line against a very in form and very hot St. Kilda Saints team right now?
Yeah, there's a plethora of problems that GWS has right now. One of them being an atrocious second half scoring issue. And some of this data is I love. I just found this account on Twitter. I freaking love them. It's at Insight Lane. They do stats and stuff for Aussie sports and pretty much just Aussie rules. And if you take a look here, so it's 22 average. They do score warms by club and quarter, and these stats specifically are average net margin over quarter duration by team through 5 rounds. Take a look at Sydney. The first quarter +1, second quarter -1, third quarter -12, fourth quarter -14. It's not good. I don't think. I mean, Toby Green's great. I don't think he's great enough to necessarily solve that issue on his own. And all I know, especially before we get to our next topic here, when we really crank up the controversy, is that the Giants have to figure out some way to maybe shoulder braces. So to make it physically impossible for Toby Green to raise his arms, because especially if the first game he comes back, if he raises his arms, I think the AFL is just going to kill him. They're just going to, old yeller him on the field, and then he's never going to play a game of footy again.
We haven't even fully gotten into it, and he's already having jokes about this. Oh my gosh, seriously! So, all right, let's bring this full freaking circle, okay? There's so much being overblown about this arms up controversy. Again, what I find fascinating is everybody's like, it's just random arms up. These are not just random arms up. Okay. Let me, I don't want to soapbox, but I'm going to soapbox here. Every single one of the 50-meter penalties that is being discussed was said from AFL House to be correct, because basically all this is come on, referee, what are you thinking type of gesture. None of them were, what are you thinking, best friend who's also wearing my same jumper? No, these were all facing the umpire or directed at the umpire. So this arms up controversy, as they're trying to dub this, is really kind of ridiculous in the long run. Okay. They had said at the start of the season that they were going to stop dissent from the players. And everybody saw all the drama after Melbourne got hit with 8 of them in one game, giving up 6 goals to the Carlton Blues. But then the funny thing was, most people didn't talk about it as the rest of the Amy series. There was only 3 50-meter penalties the rest of the Amy series, and there was 2 games apiece. So again, this all of a sudden up in arms crap is kind of surprising to me because it was nipped in the bud. First week of the final, first week of the regular season, first week of home and away. What happened? There were 3. That was it. But then, and here's where I'll give some of the people's discussion points. Yes, I think the umpires slacked off. They let a few go here and there. And then Thursday night footy happens. One umpire sees Harris Andrews, raise his arms at him in question, blows the whistle, 50-meter penalty. The umpire dissent, and all hell breaks loose after that, because any time that a player raised his arms anywhere near the referee that wasn't called, they talked about it. And then the Hawthorne game happens, and it just blows up like Mount St. Helens. It's here's my point that I'm going to make, and I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, and I said this, and I'm going to say this. I completely agree with what AFL House has said. I completely agree with the 50s that were paid, and I completely understand how upset people were that many were not called that were obvious 50-meter penalties. Now, I'm going to ask this question, and anybody that has watched sports knows this answer because it's very simple. Have you ever seen a referee have a discussion with a player and go, you know what, you're right. You proved me wrong. I'm going to change my mind. I have never in my 37 years of life and my over 30 years of watching sports ever seen a referee change his mind because a player or a coach told him he was wrong.
Nope.
So I'm going to say this right now. The people complaining this is ruining the game, you are literally dying on a hill that is not worth it. You are literally complaining about something.
A lot better hills.
Exactly. You are wasting your time. Accept what the umpire has called and move on. And then my other favorite one is like, well, you're telling them to be robots. No, I'm telling them to not react because you're wasting your time reacting. I understand sports is emotional, but you also have to understand that umpire is doing the best he can. The umpire is trying to do the best he can. Okay. You cannot fault him if he is not perfect. Okay. They are not robots.
Well, why not,
so
Donnie?
don't
I'm a
expect
fan.
them
It's
to
not
be.
my right.
I understand. Okay, and that's a great. Man, you're getting better at this. Another good point. But here's the thing: you're a fan. You're not a player. Mm-hmm. But then again, though, are you going to change the mind screaming at your television or your iPad or your computer screen? No.
Yes, they can hear me.
Nothing is
There's
going.
speakers in there.
Sometimes
that's how
swear,
fans
some
think.
fans think that.
It's but also, with this, I completely understand the anger behind it, because I can speak as a former athlete. I played football, gridiron for you guys for 11 years. I've been a fan for even longer. When it comes to refs making horrible plays, it's almost or horrible calls. It's almost instinctual, to be honest. Luckily, I only had officiating problems a couple times in my career. Nothing crazy. I definitely wasn't hitting them. But there's a couple where you go bullshit or, stuff like that. The typical. So I understand the anger, and especially being in the heat of the moment, it's a very intense sport. And so intense feelings come out, especially me, because I kind of had anger issues, but that's besides the point. And so I get it. But also, I understand the AFL's reasoning behind this, because it's like a lot of the rulings they've been making where they don't want this to trickle down into the youth leagues, especially when it comes to the mistreatment of umpires. Even though some of those bastards deserve it, that's definitely an athlete talking right there, not the normal person thinking. But I get it. I guess the one thing here is I do think this rule's a total overstep, though, because heaven forbid, the AFL stops me from trying to go to the ref and trying to just dance and raise the roof with him and enjoy a little bit of fun time. As soon as I do that, I'm trying to be a good person. I'm trying to bring in a welcoming environment and a little dance-off to determine this rule, and he gives me a 50 for that. Come on, man. This is bullshit.
Like
1984,
like I told you off camera, it is when it's gestured at the umpire is when it's a 50. If they're sitting there doing the funky chicken or sitting there raising the roof or trying to make sure the roof isn't on fire, the referee's just gonna, the umpire's just gonna, the umpire, and I said referee, my gosh, the comment section is gonna be fun. The umpire is not gonna call you if you're sitting there doing a dance. It's when you literally look at him and you make a gesture of what the heck are you doing, or why the heck did you call that?
That's
when you're going to get a 50.
That's the lyrics. The lyrics go, what the heck are you doing?
Oh, you're really finding it. You're really finding this so much fun. So again, my biggest thing that I say is that it's an issue that honestly I see a lot over here in the States, is that there is way too much wrapped up in some of these sporting events that it's like many of the issues that I see in youth sports are because the professionals are allowed to do some of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. Those umpires, those referees, no matter what sport you are, should be respected because they're doing something that not a lot of people like to do. No. Because you're never going to appease a fan or a player. Because you're always going to be on the bad side of both teams, no matter what. If you call it one way, you're deemed to be the other way. So it's like, I think it needs to be taken out of all sport. I think there's way too much umpire, referee, official bashing, and it annoys me as a sporting person because I think every single person should try to be an official for one day, because you'd be shocked how much crap you have to deal with being an official. And this is coming from somebody. I've umpired AFL games. It's not, or footy games. I apologize for those people that are
it's
AFL
not
and footy
AFL.
are two okay.
Well, you call it MMA
Aussie rules
UFC
football
next?
is not
Unbelievable.
Exactly. Aussie rules football is not an easy sport to umpire. It is not. It is very, very difficult because not only of the subjective nature, but also just the distance that you have to cover. So
it's a large field.
Please. Oh yeah, exactly. And sometimes you have to do a large field with only 2 people, not 3, like the professionals do. So it's a much bigger task, even more. So exactly. So take a step back, ladies and gentlemen. Take a breath. I mean, these people are human, just like the players. You gotta take a little bit of. I understand that you're a supporter. I understand that you're a fan. I understand that you love the sport, but you also have to understand that they're not trying to fuck up. They're not. Okay, they're not. They're trying to do their best. You have to give them a little bit of leeway, and that's the same thing for the players. You have to give them a little leeway. They're not going to get everything perfect. So sitting there and yelling at them like they're going to know that they're wrong is ridiculous. And I'm sorry. I'm going to be very blunt about it. The umpires are correct that called the 50s. The umpires that didn't are incorrect. They should be fixed. And I'm hoping that it's cracked down to the point, but I want it to stay the entire season. I don't want to see a lapse. I want to see them calling it each and every time, because I'll tell you this, in 2 rounds, you won't have a problem with it because the players will adjust and the players will adjust quickly. I think the reason this is a controversy is because of the media, not because of the players, not because of the umpires. It's because of the media. The media made a big deal out of this. That's the reason why. In 2 rounds, this is not going to be, in less than 2 rounds, this will not be an issue because the coaches will literally lay the law down. The players will figure it out and they will adjust. They adjusted during preseason. They can adjust now. Let's stop making a mountain out of a molehill.
So here's the solution that I present to you guys. Do what you do best as supporters, as fans of either your team or the league, even some players as well. The best way to make your opinions known is to bitch about it on Twitter where you cannot get 50. All right. Their problem solved. And Stay on the same topic of officiating controversy. Let's get to Trent Cotchin here and Taylor Walker, because it was a obvious time where Trent did the whole foot up where it was, no man, I'm just trying to catch my balance, but no, I'm trying to kick you to good old Tex Walker out there, and instead of being suspended, he was just given a fine. Is the AFL in the right here? Did they make the right ruling? Or is Tex Walker actually justified in thinking, no, this guy should have been suspended for that?
This is another one of those where you look at it and you go, did Trent Cotchin's fame help him not get suspended?
It's a Victorian team, Donnie. It's a Victorian team. Damn them. Remember the 8. Remember the 8.
Okay. Now, we also have to look at it, too, is some people would, and I don't want to open this Pandora's box, but some people would say is that after the issue that Tex Walker had with the wording that I will not repeat,
we all know
I discuss that particular point. Is it one of those where maybe it's not deemed as bad because of who it, and again, I don't want to go there. Whether
it
the
goes
kick
back
is
to your
intentional
conversation
or not,
last round of when you brought in the NHL and star players getting easier breaks because it's situational, and it should just be black and white and everything should be enforced equally. Crazy.
I 100% agree. I think this should have been a game suspension, but again, like I said, I'm not the one at the MRO.
I've seen less things for game. I've seen less incidents get game suspension.
I completely agree, and this is one of those that it's like, and my worry is that because this is being talked about, this is going to happen in a grassroots footy game, and just all heck's going to break loose. It's like, I understand some guys get frustrated. I completely understand that, but that crap needs to be stamped out quickly. So I'm offended, and I'm going to say this, and to all my Richmond Tiger friends, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. Richmond,
are you,
man? As much success as you have, you are probably one of the most ill-disciplined teams I have seen. You take so many stupid penalties, free kicks, and 50-meter penalties. It is ridiculous. I'm as much as I respect them for winning, there are times that it's just like they make some of the dumbest errors, and I'm just like, there is no way that this should be happening from a team that's as successful as they are. It's ridiculous how many times I watch a Richmond game and they give away just dumb free kicks and dumb 50-meter penalties. And this is another one of those situations. This is just a dumb move.
It's stupid.
By what I thought was a very smart footballer. That I don't know if he's frustrated because he's not having the season he's supposed to have. I don't know. Maybe I don't. But this is a black mark on Trent Cotchin. I lost some respect for Trent Cotchin as a player today because of this. Now, is Taylor Walker the church choir boy that he's not? But that does not mean that he deserves that. Again, do I think Tex Walker kind of opened his mouth and inserted his foot by saying that if it was him, I go, dude, what you said, you're not on a lot of people's birthday lists or their Christmas card list.
Yeah.
You stating that probably doesn't help you any more than it helps this situation. So I think Tex probably should have chose his words a little more wisely. Again,
words.
He's entitled to his opinion. But I think in this situation, his opinion probably shouldn't have come out. In my personal opinion too.
Well, Donnie, I think we know by now that Tex Walker might not be the best when it comes to words. But that's what's going to do it for our this isn't going to be a storyline thing anymore. It's just going to be every round we're going to have at least two controversial things to talk about. This is just going to be the controversy corner. This was your regular fourth and long AFL controversy corner, brought to you by Books for Athletes. Go check them out and make me a little bit more money, please. But of course, I know, don't even have to ask you or tell you. You're going to drop your thoughts in the comments anyway, so go ahead and do so, or even hit us up on our socials at Fourth and Long Media on both Instagram and Twitter. But with that being said, Donnie, it's time to get to the part where we say this a lot. I said a lot watching the Giants. Most of it is out of anger or just depression. And a lot of people said this out of people putting their arms up and getting 50s for it. But it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for What the Blank. Of course, in this segment, I got blanks for Donnie. He's going to fill them in for me because that is one of his jobs. It was not outlined in the employee handbook, but I'm making changes because I'm the owner and I can do what I want. Legality be damned. I don't know. I swear I'm legal. Don't come after me. Donnie's treated well, even though he's kind of a volunteer intern / thing. I don't even want.
I do it for the love. I do it for the love.
Yes, there we go. I swear I'm not holding a gun to his head so he can say that. And in fact, I am not even close to his state, so I can't even do that. Wait, can I? Maybe instead of like the whole gun to it, I'm holding a virus to your computer. There we go. I think that's the online techie threat that we can go with here.
I'm being scammed. I'm being scammed. That's why I got to do this, right?
Oh man! But for
I do this for the love. This is too much fun not to do it. And I watch the sport, love talking the sport. So this is a labor of love for me personally.
You got the brains. I got the slightly above average knowledge, but with the fantastically above average personality. I know you guys don't watch me for my analysis. If you do, you could probably do better on your own. Come on now, please. But for those that don't know the segment words, I got 3 statements for Donnie, and there's a blank at either the beginning, the middle, or the end. And it's up to him to fill it in with whatever he chooses. Could be a grunt. I keep hitting my mic. It could be a statement. It could be a paragraph. I don't care as long as he fills it in with something. But statement number 1, and this is one, if you want to talk about ruffling feathers, no matter who you say, you're going to ruffle some feathers with this one. Because the most overrated team through 5 rounds is blank. I'm so sorry for setting you up like this, but also I take a little bit of joy in it.
I was very fascinated when I saw your rundown sheet with this. I was like, ooh, overrated. How do I want to approach this? So I'm going to go overrated, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it from the start of the season. Okay. The most overrated team, honestly, in my opinion, is a tie between the Richmond Tigers and the Western Bulldogs right now.
I definitely didn't make that mistake.
They're the 2 most overrated teams because they're 2 teams that every pundit that you listen to, even yours truly, had in the finals. I had both teams in the finals. Yeah. I had both teams easily in the finals. Yeah. And right now, they are not playing the type of footy that's going to get them into the finals. Now, do I think the Western Bulldogs have had kind of a murderer's row with the early part of the season with a nice little stretch game? Like I said, I think in the last one, I think they've got a nice little stretch of games they can win. So it's Richmond right now is the team that I'm disappointed with because I think they've had some winnable games that they've dropped.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Falling to Adelaide, I think, has hurt them.
That was a bad
big
loss.
Time.
That was a bad loss.
Yes, they've had injuries, but this is a team that for the longest time was a next man up type of team. They literally somebody'd step in and they'd be just fine.
That's how they won all those
last year and
premierships,
this
man.
year.
Exactly how they won those. They weren't pretty teams. They were completely healthy through those. They were just a really well-rounded, in-depth team. Also, they had some fantastic talent on the top lines, but that played a role.
They were very workmanlike in the overall group. If you really look at it, they were very workmanlike. Yes, they had Dusty. Yes, they had Jack Rewalt. Yes, they had Dylan Grimes. They had some stars, but they didn't have the superstar level. I mean, they don't have the Melbourne Demons, Max Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver, Ben Brown, Stephen May, Jake Lever. They didn't have 7 stars with 2 on each line. No, they had 3 or 4, and then they had a lot of really good role players that played their role perfectly. So I'm gonna say the Tigers overall, just because I think they've underperformed for the first 5 games. Again, still a lot of season still to be played, but right now this is a Tigers team that a lot of pundits, the dynasty is over. They're not going to win a flag this year. They're not going to win a flag anytime soon if the D's stay where they are, if Brisbane stays healthy, as you kind of stated, if Sydney can keep their youth together. Yeah. I think the dynasty days of the Tigers is over. And I hate saying that because it was such a cool thing to watch this team kind of come like a phoenix and just erupt in 2017 and then become just a terror throughout the competition for the next 5 years. So we look at that. So Richmond Tigers right now, I would say overrated team as we speak as of right now.
One name I would like to throw out there real quick before we get to the next one is, especially, maybe it's just recency bias, but also you've seen a little bit, the Geelong Cats. Round 5 did worry me with that loss to Hawthorne. Of course, we talked about the controversy with it, but it affected both teams there. I don't know if I'm 100% sold on them right now at this point. There's a little bit of worry.
Well, and they've been up and down. I mean, you look at that first game against Essendon.
Perfect.
But then again, though, you kind of look back at it now in hindsight and go, "Whoa, Essendon wasn't as good as we thought."
No.
So that kind of takes. Yes, you get an emotional Sydney that's trying to get everything with the buddy thing, and I think the emotion and everything that kind of happened, the way the round 2 game with Buddy kicking 1,000, everything like that was just a bad game for the Cats, both on field and off field, just because they couldn't kick straight worth a darn, and Sydney was hot as a firecracker, and it was emotional with Buddy kicking 1,000. So, and then you go to game 3, they win game 3, which I'm totally and completely brain farting right now on what that was.
Well, if you keep talking, just keep making time, I'll be able to help you with this one, because this is something when it comes to just talking about stuff and elongating it, so you can actually see who they play, especially with the Cats, of course. They beat the Geelong Cats, of course. They beat Collingwood by 13, and so that's exactly what happened. I didn't have to look that up at all.
Yep. No. Yep. So rounds 3 and rounds 4, they win with wins over Collingwood, and then that win over Brisbane down at home. But then a tough game that, again, a Hawthorne team that they
could be good. I'm not sure. They could be good.
Exactly. Like that's the thing. That's the thing. Hawthorne is still kind of that team, that enigma team. We're not 100%. Are they benefiting from some winnable games early in the season? Or are they legitimately a contender to try to make finals? Like, that's kind of, we sit in this weird malaise when it comes to Hawthorne. So it's like if we get to later on in the season and Hawthorne is 7th or 6th on the ladder, this doesn't look as bad a loss for the Cats as, say, if the bottom falls out of Hawthorne over the next 5 weeks and they drop to 14th. Like, that's kind of the thing that we sit here. It's like Geelong again is they're going to kind of be a benefit of how some of the teams they have played go. It's like Brisbane. I think that Brisbane the Cats play really, really well at Kardinia Park, and they had a great game plan, and they found a way to knock off the Lions. A Collingwood team that at the time that they played each other, Collingwood was playing better. Geelong coming off the loss to Sydney where they didn't play very well. So it's like the Cats are a team that I can kind of see that being that overrated team, because I think they were a team that a lot of people penciled into the finals. We're like, yeah, they're too good not to make it. But there were some pundits that questioned the age profile. They questioned what
can I count
what
as
are
a
they going to
pundit?
do. Yeah, I would count you. I remember that was
so
one
honored.
of the things, and I think we even discussed it in the preseason. Like, there were a couple of times when I was first making my ladder, I had Geelong out because I wasn't sure if their profile of their team being a little bit more experienced, shall we say.
I think for either team in this situation, going from the Geelong and Hawthorne game, either team here, these next 5 rounds may very well determine the kind of team they are. These first 5 have been a slight indicator. But, both of them can go from, being in the finals to being at the bottom of the league. And honestly, I wouldn't be too shocked. It's almost crazy the amount of it feels like these teams are in the twilight zone. I have no idea what to fully think about them. Like, I think Geelong's a good team, but I'm not sure. I think Hawthorne's a bad team, but I'm not sure. It's so weird. And so what's going to happen, of course, Hawthorne's going to make the top 4. Geelong's going to drop out because that's what happens.
Let's kind of put Hawthorne in context a little bit, okay? So they've played 5 games and they're 3-2, but they're 3 wins over 18th place Port Adelaide, 17th place North Melbourne, and then Geelong. Their 2 losses are to 6th place Carlton and fourth place St. Kilda. And St. Kilda was a drubbing 142-73 in round 4.
So they have some easy
so that's
wins,
what I
a good
also
win,
what I mean.
2 good losses. Well, 1 good loss, 1 bad loss.
One good loss, the 1-point loss to Carlton, which I think Carlton is a finals team right now. And so that's a good loss, but then again, though, there's still some questions.
So both those
Carlton
wins and losses
defense.
exactly balance out. They're still a 50-50 team after that. It's so weird.
But that's what I mean is we still don't know. Where it's like, and now here's Hawthorne's next little run. Is their next 2 games are difficult. They have Sydney. Yes, it's at Utah Stadium, but that's not an easy matchup. And then Melbourne the week after. So the next 2 games, and then it's a run of Essendon, Richmond, Brisbane, Gold Coast to get us to round 10. So if you give or take on that, you look at it, right now, going on present form, you'd think they'd beat Essendon. I think Richmond's a toss-up. I think you probably lose to Brisbane. You probably lose to the Demons. You probably lose to the Swans, but you just don't know. They tend to play Tassie really well. So this is, I think, a little bit closer game than I think some people are talking about against the Swans. Common knowledge, most people are tipping the Swans, but there are a few people taking the risk and tipping Hawthorne because of their stellar record.
That's a good underdog
UCAS,
team to tip. That's a good one.
Exactly. And that gets you to round 10. But then it's like once you get after round 10, Collingwood, Fremantle, Western, GWS, Adelaide, West Coast. I mean, you get North twice, you get Gold Coast twice, you get Richmond twice. So, I mean, this is a Hawthorne team again. A lot of the bulk of their tough games are still on their schedule. So we'll have to see. But I think that's the reason why I look at Geelong a little bit with kind of half glass, half full, half empty, because a few of their games, it depends on how the teams do. I think it's going to depend on how we kind of look at that. If Hawthorne, like I said, rolls on and makes the finals, that loss doesn't seem as ugly as, say, if Hawthorne's bottom falls out and finishes 14th. So
it will almost be a good loss
see
in a way.
Yeah, so I can see Geelong being a team that some people would think is overrated again. So
also depends on how. To be overrated, it also depends on how much you gauge them being looked on favorably. So it's definitely a little bit of a subjective one, this is. But statement number 2, in terms of also more subjectivity, even though we think there is probably only one man that you can put their name on here with maybe a couple contenders, is that blank is on the hottest seat in the league right now.
Well, it's hard to argue. Kenny Hinkley at the Port Adelaide Power is not sitting on an absolute oven. I mean, hot plate now.
Well, can I recreate the picture? Is that good? If you guys are on video, you're gonna love that. If you're on audio, just picture it.
Just picture the Kenny Hinkley 05 from the showdown from a few years ago. No,
I use
Kenny
that so
Hinkley
much
is
this
on
round.
the hottest. Kenny Hinkley's on the hottest seat as of right now because his team's 0-5 and there's tons of questions on that team. But honestly, I took a lot more positives out of the bounce back in the third quarter. Again, the first and second quarter were so darn putrid.
Is it their best
that it's
loss
hard to
of the
remember.
season?
Oh, you come back from 50 points against a team that a lot of people are seeing in the finals. Yes, it's an impressive loss, but it's the fact that you got down 50. I think is the hard part about that because it's kind of Jekyll and Hyde. You have a horrible first half, you're down 50, but you storm back to take the lead in the second half and you just fall a little bit short to a Carlton team that I think a lot of people are still on that they're going to make finals. They're going to be a tough team. Mm-hmm. But I still have some question marks over their defense a little bit. I think when they face a much stronger side, Carlton could be exposed a little bit. We'll have to see. But Kenny Hinkley's on the hottest seat. But I think a seat that's getting hotter and could get very, very hot after this round could be Leon Cameron at the GWS Giants because the fact that they're only 1-4.
I was going to put his name.
Yes, they haven't had the savior that is Toby Green, and we'll have to see again how Friday night's game against the Saints go. But if they lose to the Saints, that's 1-5, and it's very difficult to make the finals with that record, considering there's only been one team with a worse record that's made the finals. And I was in 2017 with Sydney that went 0-6. So I mean, the history is not on your side if you don't win this game. So and the fact that Leon Cameron's contract talks have been halted until later on in the year, I think that's both combination of coach and the club.
Buckley to
which
GWS.
for me,
yeah.
So we will really have to see. So
And
those are the two
Johnny,
that I think have the hottest seats.
it worked last year. It worked last year. I'm gonna try to jump on it again. Last year, when the Giants started off horribly, I started the talks, or at least personally, like I started telling myself, "Oh, this is time for Leon Cameron to be canned." And would you look at that? They turned things around and made finals. So right now, I will speak into the universe. Leon Cameron should be fired. So please make the finals now, because it worked last time. Let's see if it could work again. But no, those two names are absolutely the ones. Ken Hinckley, you could probably fry an egg on his recliner at this point. So that's gonna be something to see there. Poor Alley. When we get to our tipping, they have a chance to finally get off the schneid, get the monkey off the back. We'll see what we think as well if you stay a little bit later in the show. But statement number 3, Donnie, is that, especially, with trades and, some free agents, and, it's time for a little bit of movement around this time of the year. Jordan Goey will be playing for blank at the end of the season.
All right. I'm full 100% disclosure. Jordan Goey is not one of my favorite players. So
I think it'd be weird if he was one of your favorite players.
Honestly, my initial gut right now says I think he stays at Collingwood. Honestly, because I think Collingwood would.
Not buying into the
Collingwood would be more desperate to keep him. I don't mind the Essendon rumors, but they've already got Jordan. They've already got Jake Stringer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want a second enigma guy that yes, he can make an impact, but yes, he can also disappear at times?
That's like the Giants try to add second Toby Green. Like do you do that?
Yeah. The other one that I would be intrigued to see if it'll happen. I don't think it will, but what I'd love to see is a guy like that get out of Victoria, go join the Gold Coast. Go bring that dynamic ability to add to the Gold Coast and give them some talent, especially considering if potentially Stewie Doo does find himself in the unemployment line and the AFL can somehow talk Alistair Clarkson or Buckley up there. I think you get a superstar player like that to join the team as well. And I think
yeah.
Exactly. So I think honestly, my gut tells me he's going to end up at Collingwood, but like I said, pie in the sky. I'd love to see him go up to Gold Coast, get out of Victoria, get out of the fishbowl. Maybe some of his issues that he's had maybe would reduce, if not even stop. I don't know. I'm not going to go into that because you're
not a psychologist,
one of my favorite players. No, I'm not a psychologist, nor am I going to try to play one on TV. So I'm not even going to work this. So, like I said, I think he stays at Collingwood, honestly. But my ultimate, I'd love to see him up at the Gold Coast, just because I think you bring a superstar up there to give him a little more firepower. You give somebody a lot like Buddy Franklin coming up to Sydney. You give somebody that maybe put butts in seats to be able to get more people at the game. So
maybe you can break the 40 supporter mark. That would be incredible feat for the Gold Coast Suns. I believe that's only been done once before, according to me. The only person that matters to. But let's go to it for what the blank. Of course, let us know your thoughts. Who is the most overrated team so far? Where is Jordan Goey going to end up? And what coach is probably going to be fired as of right now? But with that being said, it's time for, like I say every week, because it's still true, as long as there will be controversy from the AFL, there will always be one good list when it comes to team of the round, and that's from yours truly, Coach Donnie. So, Coach, go ahead, take it away, and just give us the truth, essentially.
Alrighty, so another very interesting round of footy, especially in the forwards lines. You'll see when I get to that. So we'll go to the team of the week. We'll start, as always, with the defenders. Defense wins championships. We'll start off at Collingwood with Darcy Moore, 17 disposals, 2 goals, 10 intercept possessions, 7 marks, and 290 meters gained. Sydney's Nick Blakey had a heck of a game out west, getting 20 disposals, a goal, 10 intercept possessions, 6 score involvements, 5 marks, and 524 meters meters gained. St. Kilda gets in Jack Sinclair into the defensive line with 27 disposals, a behind, 4 intercept possessions, a goal assist, 6 score involvements, 5 marks, and 524 meters gained. Adelaide's Brody Smith, 28 disposals, 5 intercept possessions, 4 score involvements, 4 marks, 3 tackles, and 623 meters gained. Melbourne's intercept marking machine, Stephen May, 24 disposals, 8 intercept possessions, 5 score involvements, 6 marks, 5 tackles, and 447 meters gained. Rounding out the defenders is Port Adelaide's Ryan Burton, 29 disposals, a goal, a behind, 7 intercept possessions, 5 score involvements, 6 marks, and 554 meters gained. We jump to the ruck, and he's back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Max Gawn
Welcome
takes
back.
the ruck for the team of the week. 21 disposals, 2 goals, 6 intercept possessions, 3 score involvements, 5 marks, 4 clearances, 6 tackles, 25 headouts, and 426 meters gained. We jump to the mids, and the gentleman we were just discussing, Mr. Jordan De Goey, 21 disposals, 4 goals, a behind, 7 score involvements, 4 marks, 4 clearances, and 581 meters gained. Now, he played a little bit more forward, but I'm still going to give him credit as a midfielder, and that's the Western Bulldogs' Marcus Bontampelli. 18 disposals, 3 goals, a behind, 2 goal assists, 9 score involvements, 9 marks, and 361 meters gained. We jump to Sydney's Luke Parker, 26 disposals, 2 goals, a behind, a goal assist, 12 score involvements, 8 marks, 5 clearances, 5 tackles, and 366 meters gained. St. Kilda's Jade Gresham, 25 disposals, 2 goals, a goal assist, 7 score involvements, 6 clearances, 4 tackles, and 424 meters gained. And this man permanently finds a way to get on my team of the week, and that's Melbourne's Christian Petrarca. 30 disposals, 2 goals, a behind, 3 intercept possessions, 12 score involvements, 7 marks, 7 clearances, and 573 meters gained. Here we go. The forwards, the marquee men. We start off Western Bulldogs, Aaron Naughton, 12 disposals, 5 goals, 3 behinds, a goal assist, 9 score involvements, 5 marks, 5 tackles, and 229 meters gained. Also, for the Western Bulldogs, Cody Waitman, 9 disposals, 5 goals, 6 score involvements, and 201 meters gained. St. Kilda's Jack Higgins, 16 disposals, 5 goals, 2 behinds, a goal assist, 10 score involvements, 7 marks, and 352 meters gained. Carlton's Charlie Curnow, 15 disposals, 5 goals, a behind, 10 score involvements, 5 marks, 3 tackles, and 276 meters gained. Adelaide's Taylor Tex Walker, 16 disposals, 5 goals, 2 behinds, 10 score involvements, 4 marks, 516 meters gained. And we round out the man, the myth, the legend of the round, and that's Frio's Matt Tabaner. 11 disposals, 7 goals, a goal assist, 8 score involvements, and 258 meters gained. We jump to the bench. You got to have some good bench players, and boy, do we. We start off with Hawthorne's James Sicily, 26 disposals, a behind, 7 intercept possessions, 3 score involvements, 15 marks, and 486 meters gained. Quietly having an incredible season out west is Frio's Andrew Brayshaw. 34 disposals, a goal, 3 intercept possessions, 6 score involvements, 5 marks, 5 clearances, 4 tackles, and 461 meters gained. Also in the Frio Dockers midfield is their ruckman, Sean Darcy. 18 disposals, 2 goals, 2 behinds, 8 score involvements, 5 marks, 5 clearances, 23 hitouts, and 265 meters gained. And rounding out the team of the round is forward Hawthorne's Dylan Moore. 19 disposals, 4 goals, a behind, 9 score involvements, 6 tackles, and 320 meters gained. Wow, oh, wow, did we have some performances this round, especially in the forwards, with the average amount of goals to qualify was 5 goals.
That's ridiculous. That is... That's it brings excitement. That is a lot. That I was not expecting that though. That number kind of caught me off guard. 5.
Yep, Tabaner was 7, Walker with 5, Curnow with 5, Higgins with 5, Waitman with 5, Naughton with 5, and the first person, the forward on the bench had 4.
My word.
And there was another at least 3 or 4 guys that had 4, and a couple that I didn't even write down. So it's like it just shows you how well the Western Bulldogs did. I mean, they put it up on North Melbourne, so it was easy to get a big stat day, which is like when you have both Naughton and Waitman both in your forward line kicking 5, and then you had Bontampelli kicking 3 as well. So it just showed you how
Bruce
crazy
incident this
season
was. With the 10 goals in one round against North Melbourne. But if you are ever in need, especially, I think that's just the thing with the doggies in the Roos. The doggies are just going to boat race them, and that just seems like a just historical fact at this point. But what we're going to do now is, especially talking about predicting these games, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to try our best to predict these games. I feel like I've had a decent season so far when it comes to my tips this year. I'm consistently going 5-4 at least. So if you take my bets, you're going to make money. So at the end of the day, it's not horrible. I'm probably not going to be winning our tipping competition as of now, but
in our little tipping competition that I kind of put together between you, me, myself, my good friend, and also
yes,
my
you,
co-host
me,
from the
myself,
other
and
podcast.
my friend. Yes.
You, me, my friend Brad,
There we go.
and another friend, a coworker of mine. I keep track of it. So I think what I'll do from starting next week, I will bring the overall records that we have to each and every one.
Okay.
Brad is winning quite handily.
Brad's having a good year.
I think he's got a 5 or 6 game lead.
Oh.
I think he had an 8-1. I think he had an 8-1 round a couple rounds ago. So he started off really, really well. So
My first round
it'll be
wasn't
interesting
good.
to see how this one goes.
Put me into a hole early. But
There was a few that did like.
Oh yeah, let's that's in the past. Let's go to the present because it's time to get our tip on. And starting us off is the game that I am so glad we get this out of the way nice and early around 6. Like, just get the Giants loss out of the way because there's no way I'm tipping them at this point. St. Kilda, even though I do have hope, I have more hope in this game than I have the last few rounds. But I just don't want to bet on them because they're not good.
I will tell you this. This one was much more intriguing because of Toby Green being back than if he wasn't. Like if Toby Green wasn't playing in this game, this would be easy St. Kilda pit tip all day long. I seriously thought about this one because I thought they're going to get a bump from Toby Green. You are playing in Canberra, which they usually tend to play Canberra really well. St. Kilda, I think, has been beneficial to with some opponents. I think they've matched up well against, and I think GWS. I think they're kind of feeling the heat a little bit. So we'll kind of see. I think you get a little more inspired GWS. I think this is a tight game. I think this is under 3 goals. I think this is going to come down to the fourth quarter. I think I'm going to tip St. Kilda, but this is my star. Watch this one because this is a potential upset that will not shock me if GWS wins this one. Like this is the no surprise game. I think either team can win this one. I'm going to tip St. Kilda, but I think GWS is much more in this game than I think some people are giving them credit for.
I hope so. But going to this next one, it's happening early. My bold tip of the round is going to be the Western Bulldogs, the Adelaide Crows. 95% of tippers are taking the doggies in this one. Mark me down with the 5%. Let's go Crows because what the doggies in their blowouts have come against easier teams. They've had a shaky season. The Adelaide Crows have had a couple good performances, and I definitely do think the Crows deserve to be underdogs in this game. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with the odds with the dogs being $1.24 and the Crows being above $4. I think the Crows deserve a little bit more in this matchup. Am I off? Am I off on that?
I don't think you're off. I really took a look at this one because it's Mars Stadium in Ballarat is the only thing that I think is gonna make me lean. I'm gonna tip the doggies in this one.
You're not crazy
but
for
it's
that.
only because Well, no. Listen here. If this game was in Adelaide, I'd seriously think about it because Adelaide plays the Adelaide Oval really, really well. But this is Mars Stadium, which most teams don't play at. Ballarat is where Mars Stadium is, and Western Bulldogs tend to play this stadium really, really well. The Crows are a young team. The adverse effects, being a country town game, you're not going to have a ton of fans there. I think this is going to kind of be a focus game. One of those. The other thing you look at too is that the Dogs are also without Lockie Hunter. Lockie Hunter stepped away for mental health, for family reasons.
All the good reasons to do so.
Yep, and my thoughts are with him. Hopefully he comes back and he's able to play the game of footy. You never want to see that happen, but you respect and understand it. So there is a cog out of the Western Bulldogs midfield, but Adelaide is not a midfield that I sit there and that terrifies me. So I think the Western Bulldogs win this, but again, I think the Crows are competitive in this game. I think this is one of those that could come down late in the fourth quarter. I don't want it to be a blow. There's a possibility if the Dogs get going.
Oh yeah.
But I think the Crows have been pesky enough this year. I think I give them a sniff in this game to where they're in it for a lot longer than some are predicting. I think this is mid-fourth quarter before the Doggies pull away. I think they win this by 2 or 3 goals, but
I like that.
I think the Crows are in this game.
I like that. The next one, we got the Port Adelaide Power take on the West Coast Eagles. And if there's any team you have a chance of getting your first win of the season against, it is definitely looking like the Eagles at this point, especially after the drubbing that Sydney gave them. Now, I am not sure about the odds on this. Another one where I'm not necessarily agreeing with the odds. I think the Eagles have a lot better chance in this one than people are giving them, especially with the poor play from Port Adelaide, but also the returns from some of the injuries with them. And if they're going to get going, they kind of have to get going with this one. And so I will tip the team that's kind of been bullied into the corner, backed into the corner in the power. But I think this is a super close game with the Eagles.
I agree. This is a super close game, but I think there are more positive signs I took out of Port Adelaide's game against Carlton than I did West Coast.
Yeah,
they got Aliir back. Aliir. Well, here's the thing. Aliir had trouble with Carlton. Mm-hmm. West Coast, Darling, and Kennedy, I don't think are as difficult of matchups because they're not as athletic, they're not as dynamic as Curnow and Mackay. So I think it's not as difficult to match up. Do I think Sydney was a little bit of a beneficial of some underdone superstars like Shuey and Kennedy? Yes and no, because I think they still played well. I think the issue was there was a lot of effort plays, like the one that I saw where Isaac Heeney ran by 5 West Coast players without a single one of them staying with him. And then he marks it 20 meters out and kicks an easy goal. I'm not sure where the headspace of the West Coast Eagles is right now. Port Adelaide, I think they're still focused. I think they've just been ruined by injuries, and Butters and Rosie went into the midfield and had great games against Sydney and against Carlton. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to have another good game against a West Coast Eagles team. I think is still vulnerable. There's still something not 100% right about the West Coast Eagles. I'm going to tip Port in this one, but I do think this one is close because you do have some superstar power with Shuey, with Kennedy, with Darling, with some of the guys that are there. So I think West Coast stays in this game. I think Port nips them late, but I think Port Adelaide gets off the schneid. They get a win, and hopefully that kind of writes their season a little bit, maybe kind of gets them on the right path. We'll have to see.
Now, this next one, this is going to be the second and the last underdog team to actually tip in this one, with Carlton taking on Fremantle at Optus. We all know that Freo is a good team, especially at Optus, but also I don't know. Sometimes I just have to kind of go with my gut a little bit. I'm not sure if my gut's right or wrong, but I have to trust it. I feel more confidence in Carlton than I do in terms of Fremantle right now. And when it comes to just, I don't know. It's something hard for me to describe. It's a very close game. 70% of people are tipping Fremantle in this one, though. That was more than I thought it was going to be. I'm gonna roll with the Blues. I'll roll with you, Carlton. Let's get those grand final tickets bought again.
All right, now this is the fun one because I'm the exact opposite. I trust Fremantle more than I trust Carlton, because with Carlton, I still don't know if their defense is legit or not, because they had that absolutely atrocious third quarter where Port came back. And I think Fremantle's playing better footy. I think Fremantle is much more structured. I think Mark Pitnett has a much more difficult matchup in this game against Sean Darcy than he did against two young players playing for the first time. And Carlton, one of the things that Carlton has built this winning streak on has been dominating in the center bounce and the center clearances. That's not going to be as easy when you've got a very good ruck in Sean Darcy. Fremantle plays Optus Stadium really well. I don't know how Carlton travels. I still am not 100% sure if Paddy Cripps is going to be back or not. Now, if he's back, how is he going to be underdone? If I'm the Carlton coaching staff, honestly, I keep Cripps out. Yes, this is a big game, but it's early in the season. This is only round 6.
If you lose here, it's not going to cost the finals 5. It's probably not.
Exactly, and that's what I'm kind of saying. I'm going to tip Fremantle in this one because, like I said, I like the way Freo's playing. Defensively, they were really, really good. Yes, they did play Essendon, who has become a dumpster fire this season. I don't know why, but they have. So we'll really have to see. I trust Fremantle at home. I've seen them do it to better teams than this Carlton team, honestly. No offense to Carlton. I think they've won games against better teams than what Carlton is this year. So I'm going to tip Fremantle in this one at home to get the big win at Optus Stadium. And I think legitimize Fremantle as a finals team this year.
You know, and also just in regards to this one, it could just be my holding on to my feelings from the previous seasons. When it comes to my opinions about Fremantle, maybe that's still nagging. This is a big. I think this is probably the game I'm looking forward to the most this round in terms of either team. Huge prove it status on the line. It could, and either winner could. It could be safe to cement them as a legitimate finals team. Of course,
especially if this is a close game too, because it could legitimize. It actually could legitimize both of them. Like legitimately, if you look at it. Carlton goes on the road and only loses by 5 to Freo, or even flip-flop the other way around. Carlton wins by 5 at Freo, or Freo wins by 5 at home. I think it legitimizes both of them, because if they both are legit teams, they're both finals teams. That's a finals caliber type of atmosphere that you get that game. It legitimizes both teams coming out of this game, even if you lose it. So I'm with you. This is a game that's tasty. I cannot wait for this one. I'm debating if I want to get up to watch this live or if I want to watch it on tape delay. We'll have to see.
Right.
4:40 a.m. my time here, so I'm probably going to end up watching this tape delay. But this one looks like an absolute dandy.
Now we get to this stretch where, honestly, the last 5 games, I have no problem. Like it really wasn't that hard for me to tip. I don't know if are we kind of the same boat with this one, where the first 4, there's definitely an argument to either side, and this one, especially the next 3, I just I'm having a hard time.
Right down the line with Geelong should beat North Melbourne.
Yep.
Brisbane should beat the Gold Coast, and the Melbourne Demons should beat Richmond. Am I not jumping off too high a level?
No, I don't think that's a hot take right there. And then especially, I guess it does get a little bit iffier when you get into the last 2 with the Sydney and Hawthorne, Collingwood, and Essendon. Now with these 2,
all right, let's jump to that thing.
Yeah, let's get there. We don't need to talk about.
We're pretty sure Geelong should beat North. Yeah.
If either of those teams lose those games, that is beyond embarrassing, essentially, unless something. I guess the Gold Coast.
The only one I'm intrigued. The only one of those those 3, the only one I'm actually intrigued is I want to see how Richmond handles Melbourne. I legitimately want to see that one. I think Geelong is so good they'll beat North Melbourne. I think Brisbane Q Clash is going to be interesting. I think that's a competitive game a lot more than some people give it credit for. I think Gold Coast stays in it. I think Brisbane's just got a little too much for it.
I think Gold Coast stays
Brisbane
3-4 goals behind, most of the game. They're kind of there, but also it's a good lead for Brisbane. It's one of those things. It's not going to be a blowout.
Well, I think competitive wise, that's probably going to be the most competitive game. That's probably going to have the closest score line, but I still think Brisbane wins it. I'm intrigued by the last of that 3 with Melbourne Richmond, because I want to see how Richmond handles Melbourne, because this is, You have the previous dynasty against the new dynasty. How does that match up?
Yeah.
Like, it's very fascinating. I think Melbourne wins this one. I think Melbourne is just absolutely elite right now. I think Richmond is still
They're not
out to
elite
see
right
whether
now.
they want to be a good team or not. Exactly. Well, they're good. I just don't think they're not at that. They're a couple of levels below Melbourne.
They're not
so
flat contenders right
I think
now.
that'll be a fascinating
that's a
one.
hot take.
The one down in the next one down in Tassie, Hawthorne, Sydney. I think
That's
is
a
going to
good
be
game.
interesting. I think a lot of people are tipping Sydney on this one just because they're seeing Sydney's ball movement, how they kind of dismantled the West Coast. I think this is a barn burner just because Hawthorne is playing a style of footy that they really, it's very tough, it's very competitive, it's very bring your mouth guard as
Well, they kind of brought
several
this in.
have liked
This
to mention.
is very similar to what they ended last season on, where they're just they're probably not going to be favorites, but also and they've also taken a step up from last year as well, because last year they were staying in games but weren't winning. Now they're staying in games and winning games that they might not necessarily should. So I think this is a huge threat to the Sydney Swans. I'm still going to tip them, but Hawthorne I could definitely see them pulling this off and making a statement.
This is one of those. It was kind of like both Hawthorne and North Melbourne really did this last year. Is that if you're going to beat them, you got to earn it.
Yeah,
you have to earn it. They're not going to give it to you.
It's
they're
not
not
the
going to
ruse.
roll over. They're not just going to fall flat because you're that you're a better team. We'll say that with air quotes there. I think Sydney wins this, but I think this is a tough, physical, competitive game. I think this is gonna come down to goal accuracy. I think Sydney has been more goal accurate this year than Hawthorne has. And Hawthorne, I think they did have an injury bug pop up of one of their players earlier today. Let's see if I can pull up who that guy is, because it just popped out like couple hours ago that one of the Hawthorne players is going to be unavailable.
Technically not breaking news this week, but still kind of somewhat breaking news. I don't know how you want to word that one. It's not.
I think it's Harris, but it was an injury that has come out in the last like 24 hours. That will be that he will not be able to play in that game, which I don't know if it's one of those that's. It's the make or break. It's going to absolutely end Hawthorne's chances of winning, but it's definitely it's a hit in a spot that I think is actually that is going to affect the side a little bit. I don't think it's a death nail side. I'm going to tip Sydney in this one, but I think this is a tough competitive game. I'm going to be nervous this entire game. I just know it. I know I'm going to be nervous because this Hawthorne team is a tough physical footy team. It's going to take a lot to get the W on this one.
Not going to be as easy as beating West Coast, that's for sure. But in this last one, we got the Magpies and the Dons. Would love nothing like a little Anzac Day rivalry, right? Nothing like it. They don't they bust out the Rose Jumpers?
Yep, they'll have the special poppy jumpers this year.
Yeah.
This year they're not clashing as the same colors. This year Collingwoods are white, Essendon's are black,
Last
so we
year
don't
was
have to worry
amazing.
about the color. That was quite the interesting clash there. So I'm going to tip Collingwood in this
Me
one.
too.
I think, like I said a few bits ago, Essendon has become a dumpster fire, unfortunately, which is hard to say because they were the darlings of last year's season.
I loved them last year. I was a huge fan. I root for them.
Well, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people that were enamored by them, and they just have not started well. The injuries that have come have just been in detrimental places, with Jake Stringer being down, Zach Merritt, and then just the lack of effort. And I hate saying that about footy players in their midfield was really noticeable in their last game, and they cannot. Collingwood is up and about. They've got their tails up. I think they're in this game. Essendon's got to have more of an effort, or this is going to be a long season for the Bombers in their 150th season. It's an absolutely the worst possible time to get a lackluster season under their belts is when you have a big milestone season. So I have the Collingwood Magpies, but again, Anzac, to all of our Australian listeners, again, this is such a cool thing. I wish that some kind of Veterans Day type of special series would be started in an American sport, because
cool.
it's such a cool thing where they play the last call and everybody's silent and everybody's there. It's just such a cool environment. It's such a cool
goosebump moment.
I cannot. Oh yes, It is. It's one of those. You may not be a Carleton or a Collingwood or an Essendon supporter, but you almost want to go to an Anzac game because it's got so much rich history to it. So I'm excited for that. So it'll be fun on a Monday over here. So
as much as I hate tipping against a team with the great one known as Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody playing footy, I have to go against him at this point until Essendon shows me sign of life. And if they beat Collingwood, then cool. I'm okay with being wrong with that because they're one of the teams that I never complain when Essendon wins, but also I just don't see that happening in the future here. But that is going to do it for our round 6 tips. A lot of good games in this one, some easy ones, and I say easy, that might bite me in the butt, knowing how some of this stuff does, but we'll have to definitely wait and see what's going to happen, knowing, the AFL recently, is that Adelaide's going to win, and then either 2 of the 3 teams of Geelong, Brisbane, and Melbourne is going to lose for some reason that only God knows truly. But that's about going to wrap it for us here as well, ladies and gentlemen. It was a fantastic round 5 in terms of, just a little bit, got nothing like controversy, nothing like a little bit of dance moves, and nothing like a little bit of the return of the witch hunt himself, Toby Green. So we all know round 6 is going to be electric, and also probably going to be a couple, 50s award to people. But we'll definitely wait and see. With Gilda, all I know is you have to keep your arms down. But Donnie, to cap us off, your thoughts on raising the roof in one word or phrase.
We'll say entertaining.
I say maybe stick to doing the worm instead. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Duct tape your hands into your pockets, and we'll see you after round 6.